Welcome to Beyond County Lines with Daniel and Olivia. Today we have the honor of speaking with our Santa Fe County Clerk, Katharine Clerk. That is a tongue twister, and I challenge all of you listening now to say that 10 times fast.
We're also here with our Bureau of Elections Chief, Rosangela Ortiz, and I just want to open the conversation with an experience about your first time voting or your experience assisting a constituent in registering and personalizing our election process. For me, I remember the first time I registered to vote. I was very excited because I got to vote for the first Black president, which was Barack Obama. So I'm definitely showing my age now, Daniel. But that was an exciting and a very moving time for me. And so I would love to hear some personal stories from you both as well.
Sure, I have two. The first is a very memorable time that I voted in Santa Fe County. It was the last day, I believe, of early voting that I could make because I couldn't be around for election day. And voting closed at 5 o'clock, and it was 4:30. And then I arrived at the county, and the lights were out because there was a power outage because of one of our monsoon rainstorms late in the season. And I thought for sure I wouldn't be able to vote because the streets were flooded, the lights were out, all the traffic lights were out and blinking. And so it was kind of a disaster, but I thought I'll just try it. So I went into the building, and they had voting by flashlight, and they actually held a flashlight for me so that I could vote. And I thought for sure on a Friday evening at 4:45, they would have just called it a day because it was so hard. But no, in Santa Fe County, we want to make sure everyone votes, and so I got to vote that day. That was pretty incredible. So that's kind of what inspired me to run for office in Santa Fe County, because we care about voting so much. And I really do like helping constituents. I think we had a woman who, she was 98. She had turned 99 or 98, who had just become a citizen, and all of our office staff was very excited to send her a welcome to being a citizen card and a voter registration card. And that was some of those heartwarming stories that we were up till 2 a.m. trying to organize polling cities. That really helped us get through it, because that's why we do what we do. We really want everyone to.
That's the first time I voted as well, was for Barack Obama. So it doesn't really show your age. I was just, I'm 10 years older than you, but it took me a while to start voting, and I'm glad I did.
So comes from the 2020 general. And so I really liked that election just because I saw people of all ages, all nationalities. There was a man with an oxygen tank. There was a viejito, with the cane. And I was just like standing in line with my best friend, who I believe was like 50 at the time, had never voted. And so I was like, Monica, if you're my friend, you have to vote, So we went together to the convention center, actually. And we voted. It was just so humbling to see people of all ages, all nationalities coming to vote. They cared so much. We actually were circling the building. When I started the line, it was at the entrance of the convention center, on the street. And I had to wait in line, but it was that important for people to vote in that election. So that was this is amazing.
I just wanted to commend both of you and the clerks and your staff on everything you've done in the last 4 years, updating your website to be more user-friendly and have everything easily accessible for the constituents. I think that's been something that's been needed for a very long time and amazing for the constituents. So thank you both for your work on that. And Rosangela, you're fairly new with the county, and I've worked with you a little bit on some videos, and that's what we did with the videos. Seems like you care so much about the election process, and you want the commissioners and the poll workers to be recognized for that. So that's amazing as well. I just wanted to thank both of you for your work with that.
Yeah, and we also wanted to share that they have been loving these videos. They're, we can't clone Katharine and have Katharine all over the place. So we're we want to make sure that, they see the county commissioners, that they see the sheriff.
So I just wanted to say that our poll workers, we really do appreciate them. I mean, they are taking time off from work. They don't get paid very well. I mean, got them a little pay raise this year, but it is not enough pay for how complicated the job is. And you get up early, you work all day. You have to have the best customer service in the world, right? Because the goal is to make sure that when someone arrives at the polling site, they're going to get to vote. So no matter what mood they're in, or, if their voting registration isn't right, then we get them to go do same day registration. So I think it's a challenging job. It's sort of operational skills, computer skills, customer service skills, right? I mean, it is, and I know that not everyone appreciates what they do, but it's, they're our neighbors, and we're kind of worried about them because there's been all over the country some threats against poll workers, but I think they really feel appreciated to know that the commissioners and you were able to make videos thanking them. So for anyone who's listening, we always like to see op-eds in the paper thanking our poll workers too.
Absolutely. I think, you have to be really passionate to want to be involved in whether that's a big campaign or an election. It's early mornings, late nights. And so, what would you tell the constituency or people in our community who don't believe their vote matters, that they don't have that fire for getting involved or their civic participation? As our current county clerk, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that in New Mexico, because we are not a very large state, some of these races, it's a 300 vote total. So it really does matter. We have seen coin flips in races in New Mexico.
Wow.
Right. And we have recounts and the results stand, but some of these things are really close. So it could be a matter of, you didn't make your appointment and then you didn't get a chance to go vote, and then your candidate loses. And vote really does count, especially in this regular local election, these down ballot races. Very few people will vote in them, and your vote absolutely counts. It's really important.
I actually just moved and I had to change my voter registration, and I early voted at 100 Katharine, and the poll workers were extremely friendly. Something I probably entered the wrong information on something, but they were super helpful. 3 people came up to me. They made sure I was okay. They didn't follow me. They had me stand somewhere, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but they assured me that everything was being processed, and I got to vote that day. Speaking of early voting, could you give us some information about early voting?
So early voting has started in New Mexico. We're very privileged to have 28 days before the election day. Early voting starts. So it starts in the clerk's office during business hours. So that's 8 to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. And that's sort of the warm up until expanded early voting. And that's 3 Saturdays before. So that's October 21st. We open sites all over the county. And that's Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
So I just wanted to mention about some of the events we've been doing in the community because, of course, we know, the myth or the rumor out there that locals don't vote. And so a lot of my friends, some of them don't live here. They're like, yeah, locals don't vote. And I'm like, well, we're going to do all we can to make sure we have resources available for those that want to vote. And so we went to Pride. We were at Juneteenth. We were at La Feria Southside.
Okay.
And we noticed that there perhaps wasn't a lot of people like at the event. So I started going around to the booth people, to make sure that they had the information. But our staff also created a lot of resources like the history of ranked choice voting. And that's available in English and Spanish on our website. Also a one-pager, of what the regular local election is. And yeah, people might not live in the municipality, but there's still a lot of items they can vote for. There's school board. And, we always say that every election is important. But I truly believe that the local election is even more important because, in the past, we've had so little percentage, right? So little turnout. And so they're deciding what 100% of the population gets, and so that's really important. The only vote that doesn't count is the one that doesn't get, cast. So that is really important for me,
So we have early voting. Could you tell us any other methods of voting that people can take advantage of?
Sure. So we actually had our election notice go out and the phones were ringing off the hook. So in the last, I'd say 4 days, we've had about 4,000 requests for absentee ballots. So one of the things that we have in New Mexico is no excuse absentee, meaning you can choose to no absentee ballot. It'll be mailed to you. And then you can choose to either mail it back or drop it at any one of our drop boxes. So we have a drop box at every one of our polling sites when they're open. And we also have permanent drop boxes throughout the county. We have the most per capita in New Mexico. And 6 of them are drive up, meaning you don't have to get out of your car to drop your mailed ballot to us. And then we pick them up regularly. And we don't recommend, so after the 24th, you will not be able to request an absentee ballot. So we always say if you want to vote by absentee, request right away, and you can do it online at nmvote.org. And then after the 31st, if you have your absentee ballot, do not mail it because it takes the mail quite some time. All the mail has to go back down to South Albuquerque and then come back up. We recommend dropping it either at our office, at any of the polling sites, or in one of those drop boxes because we want to make sure your vote does count. Because in New Mexico, if we don't have your ballot by 7 p.m. on election night, we cannot count it. And then the last method of voting is what I like to call last-minute voting, because we call early voting on-time voting in Santa Fe County. Last-minute voting is on election day, and we have 33 polling sites around the county open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But we always encourage people to early vote, so that way if someone who has to vote on election day doesn't have to wait in line.
How long has early voting been a thing?
So in New Mexico, about 10 years. So they had some excuse absentee, and then they had what was called early absentee in person, meaning that if you had an excuse, you could vote early. But now we have moved to you just vote early if you want to vote. And I think maybe 10 to 12 years. It has not always been a thing. And we also didn't have voting convenience centers. We used to have precinct voting. So that limited, by definition, how much early voting you could do. Because now in Santa Fe County, it's been true for a long time. But we just changed the rules in New Mexico where there's no more precinct voting. Everyone has to have a voting convenience center. And that is where anyone in the county can go to any polling site and be able to vote and not have to go to a certain location to be able to vote. So if you're doing work or you're somewhere else in the county, you can go to any polling site to vote.
Well, that really increases people's accessibility.
Yes.
Because say if you work downtown, but you're precinct, or we have a lot of people who are commuting into the city for work.
Yes.
Then you can just go cast your vote that day and take your break early, take your lunch,
yes,
and participate. So it's great news for the constituents out there.
Yeah, that's why we added actually Carlos Gilbert. We added some more downtown and midtown sites. So we added Carlos Gilbert, which even for the first time of being open was very busy during the general election. And then we've opened Mandela International Magnet School so that when people are going home along Agua Fria, they can vote. They'll see the sign and hopefully they'll stop and vote.
And that's fairly new too, right? Because I used to have to I lived in Espanola and I would have to drive to Sombrio Elementary to vote. But now I live in Santa Fe, but I can vote anywhere.
You can vote anywhere.
That's amazing. That's super helpful. And hopefully that's caused an increase in votes and voters as well.
Yes, we have the highest turnout for large counties in New Mexico. We blow the other larger counties out of the water in terms of our turnout. We are teen turnout in Santa Fe County. We actually do our trainings for our candidates, bipartisan trainings for our candidates. We're like, we don't care who wins, but you all have to be on teen turnout and understand how to get more people out to vote. And we train them how to use data and don't talk to voters who've already voted. You can't persuade them anymore. Go talk to people who haven't voted yet because we want everyone to vote. So we really want to be number one in New Mexico for turnout.
Yeah, we do have high turnout, but it's not enough. Like I think statewide for the regular local election last year, we got 19.55%. In Santa Fe, we got 24, which is still not enough. Like 24% is choosing, for the rest. And so I want to share just a really quick story. We've been getting a lot of phone calls. So I talked to a 98-year-old who requested an absentee ballot, and he was just like, "Yes, can you make sure that I get an application so that I can request an absentee ballot? I don't have internet." These are the types of calls we get. Because they're the elderly who don't have internet, who don't know how to use internet, and so they can't leave their home, and so that's why absentee voting is available. And so I thought, this 98-year-old, will be voting in this election, yet some of the, things that are going to happen are long-term, are for like many years to come, right? And I'm like, I wish the young generation had that same passion that this 98-year-old. And so we hear a lot about the gray vote, like I want to hear like the non-gray vote, like everyone else, it's all about creating a culture of voting. And that's what we're focused on, creating educational tools, reaching to the communities. We do Democracy 101 at high schools. We also spoke before veterans, and the veteran population is very yes, I fought for this country, I will vote, We were also at the naturalization ceremony, and I'm not an emotional person, but I got emotional there because, they're like, I'm a citizen now, I can vote. And so we did register almost 50 new citizens, or I call them baby citizens, and I'm like, this is the first time you can register, and there's an election coming up in November. So like, you can vote now. They're like, so.
And, I do know that also the ballot is also in Spanish. Can you talk a little bit about the bilingual programs and services that you provide so that, for good accessibility for the election?
So that's interesting. We've always had a bilingual ballot in New Mexico since 1912, when our constitutional convention was bilingual. So since that vote was cast to affirm the Constitution of New Mexico, we've always had a bilingual ballot. It's always been in Spanish and English. So we are always been a bipartisan state. All of our materials that we send out officially from the Secretary of State are by definition also bilingual. When you go to our website, there is a translation button, so it'll translate the whole website to Spanish. All of our history of ranked choice voting, or RLE one pager, all of that also is in Spanish. So we make sure we hire people who are bilingual for our help desk. So we really do make an effort to recognize the historical nature of our bilingualism here in Santa Fe County. And we did a training in Spanish. And we also have our sticker contest when we ask high school or middle school students to make stickers for our voting, our specially branded voting stickers. We do want them to be at least bilingual, if not trilingual, with tribal languages. So we take that pretty seriously in our.
I really like the way the chili sticker look. I like that one a lot.
So she was the 9-year-old from Nava Elementary, and it's in English and Spanish, Yobote, and then our other sticker was a future voter. So we want to create that culture of voting, right? So like, if you can take your kids to vote, show them why and how you're voting, like filling in the bubble, and then they too get a sticker. Future voter. And he was 17-year-old from Capitol High.
And this upcoming election, and please, I'm not the expert, so I think we have a school board that's up on the ballot. We have water and soil conservation districts, I believe. This is also an opportunity to vote for your city councilor. Am I forgetting any other?
So in addition to that, we have Santa Fe Community College. And so, again, all of these different entities used to have elections at different times. And so this was before 2018. They used to have elections at different times, but now they're consolidated. So they're all displayed on one ballot. And so they run, and then we run the election. And so who best to run an election than those who know how to run the primary and the general, right? And so we make sure that the districts know, and then their candidates, we also had a training for candidates ahead of the election. And so, this is how many? 19, 21, 23. This is the third regular local election.
Could you tell us something that you enjoy or something that's really fun about the voting process or about your jobs in general?
Well, I love what I do. I think I'm sort of boots on the ground, protecting democracy, making sure people's voices are heard. I mean, this is how, if you are in public service, what better way than making sure people know that we care about what they think by literally putting a ballot in front of them and saying, we want you to tell us what your thoughts and choices are. I really like the idea that we are working very, very hard to get access for the ballot. We're working very hard at the legislature, asking legislators to make it even easier to vote. We've passed new laws around tribal voting. We've passed new laws around having a permanent absentee list so that folks can just sign up one time instead of having to remember to sign up every election. So there's all these wonderful things coming through that will be taking effect in 2024 and 2025. But, I love this job very much, and making sure that people can vote. And, it warms my heart when, especially if a voter calls me and says, I really don't think I can vote, or I can't find anyone to, or I'm not going to be able to make it to this election. And I can explain, okay, here's your options. You can request an absentee ballot. We can try to find you a ride from one of the groups that have volunteered. So we really are the site. We just have this feeling of, we want to make sure every vote counts. We want to make sure every constituent knows that we really truly care that their voice is heard.
So part of, the election process is also really being an educated voter, right? Knowing your candidates, knowing their priorities, what they aspire to do in the office that they want to be in. Are there good resources for constituents to visit to learn more about these positions? What's a good site or area that people can find that information before they hit the polls?
So if you just want to know what is on the ballot, you can go to our website, santafe.vote, and we have a what's on the ballot page, and that'll just tell you all the things that are on the ballot. Then if you want to get a sample ballot, which is the actual ballot you will see in the polling place, you can go either to our website, santafe.vote, or go to nmvote.org and log in and look at that sample ballot. And then if you want to know sort of candidates' positions, things like that, one of the best resources is the League of Women Voters has a website called vote411.org, and they ask the candidates to respond to by a nonpartisan questionnaire, and candidates can express their positions and interests and, kind of give you an idea of what they stand for.
And I also wanted to add, that, yeah, we care about turnout, but that's the long-term goal, making sure that there's a voting culture of those voters that basically do their homework before, and then when they come to the polling site, they know exactly how they're going to vote and who they're going to vote for. Also, we've been seeing the New Mexican has a lot of, questions and answers from voters. So that's really good that, people are not just seeing a name and voting for that name, but like understanding why they're voting for these, candidates and why they're voting yes, as opposed to no on certain measures. So yes, voter education, candidate education, district education, every education is just, the main goal, I guess, to make sure that, we're educated on the entire process.
Before we get into our closing comments, since Halloween is coming up, do you guys have any spooky stories that maybe at a polling site, or even just a personal story of something scary that happened that I can cut this completely off if it's terrible?
Voting isn't scary. I think it's, like the stress and like the amount of, situations we have to juggle. That's scary. Like one of our staff members, he was saying like, oh, this situation just made me lose the last 2 years of my life because of the stress I was under today. At the end of the day, we laugh, I'm always in my office doing work, because that's all we do. We work, but, we smile, we enjoy what we do. And I think all of us in the office, like there's a certain passion that election brings, and so all of us are very passionate. We all try to go above and beyond. For callers, we give them almost too many resources. They're like, okay, I'll talk to you later, bye. We're like, okay, cool, So, but yeah, nothing scary, just the amount of stress that election officials and poll workers. So I think what we ask is to be kind, like we're doing a lot to put this election, and then you don't even vote. Like, come on, just kidding.
So if you see some crazy hair or some red eyes, it's not ghouls or any spooky.
Yeah,
that would be all of our clear staff that we may feel that voting.
And I also will say, some of our poll workers definitely get into the spirit, and you'll see them in full costume, helping you with your vote. So don't get scared if they're, dressed as ghouls and zombies. And I'm sure there will be a lot of Barbies this year in Oppenheimer. So
hopefully some good trick or treats.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I come from a long, doing work in regards to community advocacy. And I'm very passionate about how some of our mothers and grandmothers and people never had the right to vote. Looking back at the women's suffrage movement, and now we have some incredible, fierce women that have been working for Santa Fe County and shifting that legacy of that women are getting involved in office and are very much at the forefront of local government. So I just want to applaud these two fierce women in running elections for Santa Fe County, and encourage all of our young women to continue the legacy that the women before us have laid to get their voices heard. And also within our tribal communities, that not until, the late, I think 1940s or 50s, please correct me, but our Pueblo brothers and sisters also couldn't vote.
That's right.
So, this is your self-determination to make your voice heard, to participate in your government, and to be involved in your community.
I did want to say that actually 80% of the people who run elections across the country are women. It is very much something that women have stood up to say, I want to do. And also one of the interesting legacies of the regular local election, and one of the reasons why we changed it, was that school board elections used to be at a different time because that was the only election when we were allowed to vote in. So we did not want that sexist legacy anymore. We consolidated it for the fall so that we would not have a vestigial leftover effect of just voting in school board elections. It is now a regular local election that's statewide that everyone can vote in. So it did remind me that
Halloween, balloon fiesta, Aspen, and election. Every fall there will be an election.
Yeah. So we're always looking for poll workers. We always want to have a lot of people who have been trained and are standby. So you may not necessarily be signed up, but we always have last minute people who dropped out, have car trouble, and we may call you up and need your public service. So please sign up to be a standby poll worker because it really helps us breathe a sigh of relief. Because by law, we have to have people who are trained to be poll workers. So it just makes us breathe a little easier before Election Day if we know we have people we can call on to be at a site if we need them. You wouldn't be a presiding judge, you wouldn't be an election judge, but you would be providing a helping hand to make sure you can check voters in and make sure the site runs smoothly, because Election Day is always busy. We always have a need in our office for people who can be our temporary workers for either the help desk, messengers, people who work and get certified to help certify the machines. So there's always, we expand to 400 extra people every election. And so, there's a lot to do. So we just sort of, build and build all summer. And then on Election Day, we have this giant population of people who are helping us out. And then, of course, we collapse again the next day. So it's kind of amazing how we can create this operation, but we can't do it without citizens willing to show up and making sure democracy happens.
Thank you so much for being with us today on Beyond County Lines, here with Daniel and Olivia.
All right. Yeah. And thank you for listening and joining us on Facebook and Instagram, or wherever I'm going to post this. Beyond County Lines. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.